Jeremiah was a prophet who spoke into the dark places of the people of that time. And in that very moment, Jews were exiled from Jerusalem to Babylon. And I know it wasn't God's plan to do that. However, Jeremiah is in Jerusalem getting this letter from God, and he had to stand up to another false prophet that was saying, oh, well, it's not going to be as bad as you think, and it's not going to be this, and just totally trying to make the Jews feel better for where they are in that situation, when God said to Jeremiah that they're in that for the long run. However, he has a promise for them. He had a promise for them. So this letter in Jeremiah is an encouragement to so many people tossing from to and fro, and he just wants to get them centered down to where they find God first and foremost before they go out and doing all this promiscuous stuff. And it's not going to, Jeremiah knew that wasn't going to happen. That wasn't supposed to happen, and God really loved them so much that they would be there, that they would have it. So Jeremiah could have this letter for them so that they could just read it and be there. And there's a world connection to this too. I just feel like if a prophet in this world were to write a letter to USA, what would it say? What really would it say? There's a world connection. The world we live in is full of corruption, lust, and greed, and torture. And these things can seep into our lives if we're not careful, or we can just be deaf to it, or be blind to it, or not really care. We feel sometimes we're so sheltered here that we don't realize really what's going on with us. And I believe it's the same thing when it came to Babylon. Those people in Babylon, they were trying to live their lives, but God didn't want them to listen to all the false lies, which is why Jeremiah just rose up and spoke against all the people who were trying to confuse them, who were trying to get them on their side. But that wasn't going to happen. Not if Jeremiah or God had anything to say about it. And we have to read Jeremiah 1 through 11 first, so that we know where "for I know the plans I have for you" came from, which is why it's so much more exciting when you read the whole chapter instead of that one verse. And then I wrote it actually all out on my notebook. It says, "This is the letter that the prophet Jeremiah sent from Jerusalem to what was left of the elders among the exiles, to the priests and prophets and all the exiles whom Nebuchadnezzar had taken to Babylon from Jerusalem, including Jehoiachin, the queen mother, the government leaders, and all the skilled laborers and craftsmen." So there's a lot of people in Babylon right now, just under Nebuchadnezzar's rule. It says, "The letter was carried by Elisah, son of Shaphan, and Gemariah, son of Hilkiah, whom Zedekiah, king of Judah, had sent to Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon." And I like word meanings sometimes, and I really thought that it'd be cool to just find out what the names of the hands of this letter came from person to person to person, and what those names meant. And the first person that the letter got to was Elisah, and the definition was God made. His name means God made, Elisah, God made. And the father of him was Shaphan, father of Elisah, and he was the secretary to King Josiah in the Old Testament. And that also means coney, an animal in which the mountain, and actually it's like a rabbit that lives into the mountain on a rock. So I thought that was kind of cool that he found his fortress, he found his home in a rock. And so we are supposed to put our lives on the rock as well and put our firm foundation in who God is first and foremost. And that's what Shafran means. It means coney, which is a rabbit-like animal. But that animal puts his faith on the rock and puts his whole life into that rock. So Gemariah means God had accomplished. So from Elisah, the first person who got the letter, went to the second person, Gemariah, that means God had accomplished. So from God made, it said God had accomplished in that name, just by that second passing of the letter to this person. That's what I thought was cool. And then the third person who got the letter was Zedekiah, justice of Yahweh, king of Judah. His justice was shown forth. His justice was shown forth just by in the meaning of his name. And it was Zedekiah who took that letter to Nebuchadnezzar. And he just served him justice at that very moment, because Zedekiah means justice of Yahweh, king of Judah. Justice of the king of Judah, which is God. So that in itself was really cool, that God was ready to do something. He was already, preparing the people who were supposed to put this letter hand by hand. And in the third person, they got served justice in Nebuchadnezzar's hand. And then this is what verse 4 says. And then I'll read it to the end. This is the message from God of the angel armies, Israel's God, to all the exiles I've taken from Jerusalem to Babylon. Build houses and make yourself at home. Put in gardens and eat what grows in that country. Marry and have children. Encourage your children to marry and have children so that you'll thrive in that country and not waste away. Make yourselves a home there and work for the country's welfare. Pray for Babylon's well-being. If things go well for Babylon, things go well for you. Yes, believe it or not, this is the message from God of the angel armies, Israel's God.